Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India, India's voice to the world. I'm Preeti Kaur. Coming up in the next 1 hour. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi to arrive in Athens, Greece on a day's visit. Former US President Donald Trump released on bail after surrendering in Georgia as part of a wide-ranging criminal probe relating to his 2020 election defeat. Russian President Vladimir Putin sends condolences to the family of Yevgeny Prigozhin, describing the Wagner chief as a talented businessman. And at the World Badminton Championships, Indian duo of Satvik Sairaj Ranki Reddy and Chirag Shetty progressed to the quarterfinals. After a successful visit to South Africa, Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi will be arriving in Athens in Greece. Ahead of his departure from Johannesburg, Prime Minister read a statement saying, I quote him, "My visit to South Africa was a very productive one. The BRICS summit was fruitful and historic. As we welcome new countries to this forum, we will keep working together for global good. My gratitude to President Cyril Ramaphosa, the people and government of South Africa for their hospitality." The 15th BRICS summit in Johannesburg concluded, wherein we saw important takeaways. The most important one was of expanding the BRICS, and we saw more countries are part of BRICS now. Prime Minister Narendra Modi of India is arriving shortly in Athens in Greece, and it will be the first visit by an Indian Prime Minister to Greece in 40 years. India and Greece have enjoyed close ties through cooperation in areas such as maritime transport, defence, trade and also investment. Meghna Dev from DD India reports from Athens. Indian Prime Minister will have a packed schedule where he will hold delegation-level talks with Prime Minister of Greece.
During the Honourable Prime Minister's visit to Greece, both sides will look to expand and diversify the trade and investment segment of cooperation, deepen and expand the defence and security partnership, infrastructure cooperation, shipbuilding industry, something which is a great strength of Greece and where the opportunities, extensive opportunities are there, energy, agriculture, education, and as I mentioned earlier, migration and mobility. The visit would give both sides an opportunity to discuss also the regional and global issues of mutual interest and help broaden and deepen our bilateral engagement.
Prime Minister Modi will also be interacting with the Indian diaspora in Greece. Both leaders would also address the key businesses of both the countries.
It is after 4 decades that a prime ministerial visit from India is taking place to Greece. Greece is one of India's important European partners, a member of the NATO, as well as a gateway to the European market. During Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi's visit to Greece, there will be a lot of subjects on the table, be it expanding and diversifying trade and investments, deepening the security and defense cooperation between both the countries, as well as the shipbuilding infrastructure development and connectivity.
Both the Prime Ministers met in New York in September 2019 on the sidelines of the UNGA. This visit is expected to give opportunity for India and Greece to broaden and deepen bilateral engagements. Meghna Dev's report, DD India. In an exclusive interview to DD India, Greek ambassador to India, Dimitrios Ioannou, highlighted the significance of Indian Prime Minister's visit to Greece.
Here outside the Greek Parliament, or also known as the Hellenic Parliament, and right outside the tomb of the unknown soldier, where Prime Minister Narendra Modi will lay a wreath in and pay tributes to the soldiers who have fallen on the line of their duty. With me is Ambassador Iano, who will be speaking to us on the significance of the visit. He is the Greek ambassador to India. Thank you so much, Ambassador, for talking to us. As we know, a prime ministerial visit from India is happening after four decades.
Yes, this is a very happy moment. This is a long friendship going back millennia. But I would say that now is entering in a even higher stage. We are very happy to welcome Prime Minister Modi here in Greece. I think that our countries have many things in common, but there is one very important point. That is the ethical values that we, both of us, both societies and both people, they follow. That is, we are democratic, representative societies. We value very highly humanitarian values, and we strive on international field for stability, peace, and respect of international law.
So we have also been seeing that we also know that there is going to be delegation level talks between both the prime ministers. What important subjects are going to be there on the agenda?
There is a series of agreements that they will be sound, that they cover all of the important fields. That is security, that is economy, that is culture, and technological exchanges and cooperation as well. And by the way, let me congratulate you and tell you that we are very proud of you for your amazing achievement to land a landscape on the dark side of the moon.
Yeah. So we also know that there is a lot of talk about cooperation in the security and defense sector.
Yes.
Anything that you would like to, say about it?
There have been these combined exercises of Greek and Indian Air Force in the Neohos exercise. That was a very important event because I think it was the very first time that Indian Air Force has come to Europe to exercise along with a European country. There has also been the joint exercises of our navies in the Aegean Sea. And I think there is a lot more to come.
Both the prime ministers are meeting business leaders. So definitely there is emphasis on diversifying, expanding trade and investments. How do you look at, because we see Greece as an important gateway to the European markets?
Yes. This is the role that we aspire to play in our cooperation with India to become a gateway. In many ways that can be done. In the first place, by using our ports in order to import your products in Europe, but this can be done in other ways as well. I mean, by Indian investments in important sectors, and especially of sectors of technological edge, because nowadays India is very advanced on a technological level.
Sir, also we see that the cooperation between Greece and India has also been extended in the education sector now. We see that there is a lot of emphasis from Greek universities so that Indian students come and study there. What will that also be on the agenda, and what is the plan, to get more students from India to study in Greece?
Yes, of course. This is one of the fields that we are very active. And we aspire to have good results in the coming years. There is an institution under the name Study in Greece, and by this is in cooperation, the embassy in cooperation with this institution is trying to make aware all the Indian universities that there are a lot of possibilities of cooperation, and also there are possibilities for Indian students to come and study in Greece. At the same time, we are trying to bring more Greek students also in India.
Sir, connectivity is one of the major challenges that we probably need to strengthen that sector. Talks on that expected between the leaders when there will be delegation level talks?
Yes, of course. Both countries will consider very important the green transition, let's say, so the renewable technologies, and given that India and Greece as well, they have made some progress recently in what regards green technology. I think that there will be a lot to discuss and to agree on that. Greece especially has an enormous potential in renewable energy because it's a country where there is sunshine about 300 days per year. And also there are very strong winds, as you have noticed probably during your stay here. So there is an enormous potential, and we will work on that.
One last question, Ambassador. The shipbuilding industry is also of a lot of importance. How do we see, the industry probably can collaborate in terms of transfer of how they are working, the procedure or the technology?
Yes, of course. The shipbuilding industry now is in a new stage in Greece. We are trying to renovate the shipbuilding industry, and I think there is a lot of potential in cooperation, collaboration with Indian shipyards and transfer of technology in both ways.
Yeah. Sir, I missed out on a question. We see that Greece and India are on the same page in terms of counter-terrorism, in terms of combating cross-border terrorism. How do you look at India's stance in terms of Cyprus, or be it the Greek stand that Kashmir is one of the internal issues of India?
As regards Cyprus, we very much appreciate the principal stance for all these years of India regarding the Cyprus issue, and especially its stance in the United Nations, and because it was always assisting all the preparation, let's say, for the resolutions that they were taken by the United Nations. As regards Cyprus, you know that there is nowadays, it is ongoing an arbitrary effort to change the situation in the buffer zone, which is illegal and goes against international norms and law. And all the Security Council and the United Nations, along with India, they have condemned these efforts.
India is holding the G20 presidency, and the summit is just around the corner. It's some time from now. How do you see India's role in terms of the presidency that it held for the G20 this year?
G20, I have said many times that it was a very, let's say, a very visionary presidency that it put the foundations for really change on many fields. And what I have to say is that I hope that the coming presidencies, they will build on this precedent of the Indian presidency, will go further away, and they will offer something very usual.
Thank you so much, Ambassador, for talking to us. It was a pleasure to talk to you. So this is Meghna Dev, 4DD India, with camera person Shailendra Chauhan from Athens, Greece.
And still to come on DD India News Hour, an Indian Prime Minister is visiting Greece for the first time in 40 years. We'll have more details on the significance of this trip. Japan's discharge of treated water from a nuclear plant into the ocean continues to upset its neighbors. And Russian President Vladimir Putin has sent his condolences to the family of Wagner chief Yevgeny Prigozhin.
बिना रुकावट गाने सुनने के लिए अपना सब्सक्रिप्शन रिन्यू करें।
सब्सक्रिप्शन खत्म? मिस्टर डीजे, यूपीआई ऑटो पे कीजिए।
ऑटो पे?
नॉन स्टॉप पेमेंट से मिलेगा
नॉन स्टॉप म्यूजिक।
चलेगा चलेगा नॉन स्टॉप चलेगा।
अब नॉन स्टॉप पेमेंट्स ऑटोमेटिकली करने के लिए यूपीआई ऑटो पे चलेगा।
You're watching DD India News Hour and I'm Preeti. Let's get you more updates on Prime Minister's visit to Greece. Members of the Indian community have made special arrangements in Athens to welcome the Indian Prime Minister. DD India's Meghna Dev gets us this report from there.
We are outside Embassy of India in Athens and excitement is soaring up for Prime Minister Narendra Modi's arrival here. This is after 40 years that the Prime Ministerial visit from India is taking place to Greece. And Prime Minister Narendra Modi, just like his trademark, is interacting with the Indian diaspora present here in Greece. To be precise, there are about 14 to 15,000 people of the Indian diaspora living in Greece, but excitement is soaring up ahead of Prime Minister Narendra Modi's arrival here. Right behind me, you can see a number of placards, people really excited and ready to welcome, all set to welcome Prime Minister Narendra Modi here in Athens. What is the excitement in people here in the diaspora? Prime Minister is coming to Athens.
It's our pleasure. Prime Minister, respected Prime Minister is coming in Greece, and it's really very excited moment for all of us because he is the idol of every Indian.
Yes. Prime Minister is coming to Athens. What do you have to say?
We are very happy that he's coming here after 40 years. And it is our proud day, and we feel that today we feel that we are the Indians because of the Modi is coming here, and we love all of the Indian peoples love him, and we will welcome him very proudly, very proudly.
Madam, what do you have to say? Prime Minister is coming, and you guys will be there to welcome him.
Yes, we are proud that Modi ji coming here, and we are very, very happy to see our Prime Minister here because we are very proud that we are Indian. So it's we from all our community, we welcome Modi ji.
We are really proud Prime Minister Modi is coming here, and we love him. He loves kids and I like him, and we're really thankful he's coming here.
Anything that PM Prime Minister has a number of interactions scheduled here as well. What do you have to say?
So I am chairman for Indo-European Business Forum, and I'm been seeing that India and UK, India and Europe business is going, and I feel the Greece is the place. It could be launching pad for Indian businessmen to come here and increase the business in Europe. Roughly 1.5 billion business happens between India and Greece, and it can further increase. The GMR has more than 850 million euro business in Greece. We have UPL here, but I think there's a huge potential in a startup, in chemical, in fertilizer, in pharmaceutical, in education, in culture. So I am here to support and to make sure the business increases. We are there as a business forum to promote the business from both sides.
Yeah. So definitely the excitement is quite palpable ahead of Prime Minister Narendra Modi's visit to Athens, and also ahead of the diaspora event that is going to be a very important event before Prime Minister departures from Athens. With camera person Shailendra Chauhan, this is Meghna Dev for DD India from Athens, Greece.
All right, let's get you more inputs. Meghna is joining us again from Athens. Meghna, good morning. Behind you, I see a lot of people gathered there, and we know that in a short while from now, the Prime Minister will be landing in Greece. Now, we've told our viewers that though it's a one-day visit, but it is significant because it is happening after 40 years, 4 decades, that an Indian Prime Minister will be visiting Greece. Let us know more details as to how is his day planned there ahead in Greece. And also, we tell our viewers that he will be holding a bilateral meeting with Prime Minister Mitsotakis. He will be meeting business leaders. Spell out more details.
Yes, so first I will take you through Prime Minister Narendra Modi's packed schedule for the day. He will be arriving here shortly. You can see on my left is the hotel where he is expected to come. And obviously the diaspora has an idea of where Prime Minister Narendra Modi is going to stay. And that is the reason they are out here early in the morning to welcome Prime Minister Narendra Modi. Preeti, to tell you, it's around, it's about to be 6 a.m. in the morning. And we have been seeing the gathering of people, coming like storm of bees from 5 a.m. in the morning itself. So definitely, there is a lot of enthusiasm, palpable enthusiasm amongst the diaspora specifically, because obviously, as we have been reiterating, that a prime ministerial visit is happening after 4 decades. So that definitely shows the significance of the visit. Besides that, very importantly, what we see is that Prime Minister Narendra Modi will be going to lay a wreath on the tomb of the unknown soldier, which is just a few meters from here, and which is just near the Hellenic Parliament, or we call it the Greek Parliament. So the place where he will pay his tributes. Besides that, he is going to get a ceremonial welcome at the presidential palace. And also there are delegation level talks which will happen between both the leaders, between both the prime ministers. After that, and there is a business meeting, and a luncheon which is organized by the Greek prime minister, where business leaders will be present. So definitely there is clear emphasis on trade and investment, diversifying and expanding trade and investment. Besides that, he will also, just like, on every visit, Prime Minister Narendra Modi does not fail to interact with the diaspora and the kind of importance he attaches to the diaspora. He is going to address the Indian diaspora here. To be precise, Preeti, there are about almost 15,000 strong diaspora here in Greece. And that quite a number of them are, coming to Athens today to witness Prime Minister Narendra Modi's visit here. And at the diaspora event, also we have been bringing to you, we will bring to you the live visuals and the address. Besides that, also there are cultural performances that have been planned to welcome Prime Minister Narendra Modi at the community event for today.
The excitement there is visible from the fact that people have gathered, in fact, there behind you right at 5 in the morning to welcome Prime Minister there in Greece. Thank you so much for joining in with those details. We'll come back to you again during the day when the engagements of the Prime Minister begin there in Greece. And as we told you, in a short while from now, the Prime Minister will be arriving in Greece and we'll keep you updated. Meanwhile, let's turn focus to other updates. We'll take you to Japan now. Japan's discharge of radioactive water into the Pacific Ocean continues to upset its neighbors. China has banned the import of seafood and there have been protests in Hong Kong, a rare occurrence since Beijing cracked down on dissent in the city. Here's Andrew Wood joining us from Hong Kong with more.
Well, no matter what Tokyo says about the safety of the discharges of this radioactive water, nobody in the region, very few people in the region, seem to be prepared to accept Tokyo's assurances that the discharge is safe. Tokyo seems to be losing an awful lot of friends around the region by doing this. Here in Hong Kong, there were small protests close to the Japanese consulate. In South Korea, about 16 protesters tried to break into the Japanese embassy. We've seen China ban all imports of Japanese seafood and said that it was Japan was selfish and irresponsible by discharging this water. The ban here in Hong Kong actually came into effect before Japan actually started to release the water into the sea. Now, this is quite a big blow economically for Japan, because the mainland of China and Hong Kong are the two biggest markets for Japanese seafood and agricultural exports. Here in Hong Kong, for example, sales are usually around about $500 million a year of seafood, seaweed and other aquatic products. North Korea has weighed in as well. Now, there's not really a lot of love lost between North Korea and Japan, but North Korea was saying, well, this was a crime against humanity. So, no matter what the scientific evidence says, Tokyo has really failed to win over so many people around the region. That can't be good for its soft power. And yes, Japan is going to lose an awful lot of friends by doing this. In Hong Kong, I'm Andrew Wood reporting for DD India.
And to get us more on that, Chris Gilbert is joining us live from Tokyo for the latest. Chris, just a while back we heard what Andrew Wood said from Hong Kong, but let us get more details from you as to what reactions are coming in from Japan with regard to this ban.
Yeah, well, we just heard Andrew Wood saying that Japan may lose a lot of friends. I think it should also be added that it is very much keeping the newfound friends it had with South Korea on board with the science, and the United States very much on board with the plan with Rahm Emanuel, the ambassador to Japan, going up to Fukushima next week in a PR display to eat locally caught octopus. But as you say, Japan has reacted to the ban this morning. The Ministry of Energy, Trade and Industry has requested that China understand the science and is willing to explain, echoing comments made by the Prime Minister and the government in general, including Chief Cabinet Secretary Matsuno, that it's regrettable that China does not understand the science, and Japan is very open to communicating the science to China, kind of sounding or reminiscent of a bad boyfriend, just saying, you would only understand if you just let me explain to you more. This is very unlikely to satiate Beijing, and it's yet to be seen what kind of political row this turns into, if it's going to be somewhat like the Senkaku Islands, an ongoing long-term dispute, or something like the visa row we saw between Japan and China earlier this year, which was very much a flash in the pan.
All right, Chris, also the seafood ban has spread to Hong Kong also. How likely is it to raise tensions or have spillover effects in the relationship between Japan and China?
Well, we're all looking at new challenges for this relationship. Japan and China are wedded together. Their diplomatic ties are wedded together through finance and through trade. They are, of course, security rivals. Japan has placed China as the top security challenge in the area in its new national security strategy released just last year. However, through $230 billion of trade, they are important and very close business partners. So issues like this do just drive a little security wedge between them, just that little bit further. And this does follow, of course, the calls by the G7, inside the G7, of course, which Japan is president of this year, which hosted this year, to decouple economically from China. So as we see the pursuit of Japan to decouple economically from China, issues like this may really exacerbate any flare-ups that already existed.
All right, Chris, we'll end it here. Thank you for joining in with those inputs. That was our correspondent, Chris Gilbert, joining us from Tokyo, spelling out more details and updates on Japan releasing the radioactive water into the Pacific Ocean. Up next, we will take a look at what are the other stories domestically making it to the headlines. The Indian state of Himachal Pradesh continues to be lashed by heavy rains, triggering landslides. The incessant downpours have obstructed national highways. Over 400 roads have been closed. The Indian Meteorological Department has issued a red alert, predicting heavy to very heavy rainfall in 6 districts of the state. The death toll from an under-construction railway bridge collapsed in India's Mizoram state, and it has risen to at least 23 people. It comes as search and rescue operations are continuing, with government compensation announced for victims' families. We're heading for a short break, but on the other side of the break, we tell you that former US President Donald Trump's mugshot has been released after he was arrested in the US state of Georgia. He has been released on bail. Firefighters in Greece are struggling to contain the EU's biggest wildfire ever recorded. The Panama Canal is expected to extend restrictions on daily ship transit.
Namaste land.
Marhaban ila al-Hind.
India.
Salam India. Namaste India.
Namaskar Bharata.
Muy India.
Nahnu Hunud.
India.
Ma Hindi Hasti.
Mung Hindian.
Salam Hindustan.
We are India. नुकावट गाने सुनने के लिए अपना सब्सक्रिप्शन रिन्यू करें।
सब्सक्रिप्शन खत्म? मिस्टर डीजे, यूपीआई ऑटो पे कीजिए।
ऑटो पे?
नॉन स्टॉप पेमेंट से मिलेगा
नॉन स्टॉप म्यूजिक।
चलेगा चलेगा नॉन स्टॉप चलेगा।
अब नॉन स्टॉप पेमेंट्स ऑटोमेटिकली करने के लिए यूपीआई ऑटो पे चलेगा।
You're watching DD India News Hour and I'm Preeti, and now we take a quick relook at the top stories we are tracking this hour. Indian Prime Minister Modi to arrive in Athens, Greece on a one-day visit. Former US President Donald Trump released on bail after surrendering in Georgia as part of a wide-ranging criminal probe relating to his 2020 election defeat. Russian President Vladimir Putin sends condolences to the family of Yevgeny Prigozhin, describing the Wagner chief as a talented businessman. For the first time in history, a former US president has had his mugshot taken. Donald Trump surrendered on Thursday at a Georgia jail on charges of racketeering and conspiracy. Later, he posted a $200,000 bond and he was released.
Donald Trump was charged on Thursday with more than a dozen felonies as part of complex criminal case arising from his efforts to overturn his Georgia loss in the 2020 presidential race. After his surrender, Trump was arrested and jail authorities took a mugshot of Trump. His mugshot was made public by Fulton County Jail after his arrest. Later, former president was released on bail. The $200,000 bond package includes standard provisions barring him from making direct or indirect threats against witnesses. Dozens of Trump supporters gathered outside the Atlanta jail. Before boarding his private plane after the booking, Trump repeated his claim that the various criminal cases against him are politically motivated.
I really believe this is a very sad day for America. This should never happen. If you challenge an election, you should be able to challenge an election. I thought the election was a rigged election, a stolen election, and I should have every right to do that. As you know, you have many people that you've been watching over the years do the same thing, whether it's Hillary Clinton or Stacey Abrams or many others. When you have that great freedom to challenge, you have to be able to, otherwise you're going to have very dishonest elections. What has taken place here is a travesty of justice. We did nothing wrong. I did nothing wrong. And everybody knows it. I've never had such support. And that goes with the other ones too. What they're doing is election interference. They're trying to interfere with an election. There's never been anything like it in our country before.
With Justice Department officials.
Fannie Willis, the Fulton County District Attorney who filed the sweeping racketeering case, had set a deadline of Friday for Trump and the other 18 defendants to surrender. Trump and 11 others have turned themselves in so far.
Trump has returned to social media site X, which is formerly known as Twitter, with a post on Thursday showing his mugshot from his booking earlier in the day. With his post, he appealed for donations.
Well, Donald Trump's mugshot is currently making its way around the world as we process this historic and unprecedented situation in the U.S. state of Georgia. And the next step for Trump and his 18 co-defendants is to actually be arraigned and enter a plea on these charges, and we expect that to happen likely the week after next. Now, the actual trial date is a bit unclear. The Fulton County District Attorney Fannie Willis had initially proposed a date of March 4th, which would actually be the day before Super Tuesday, which is the biggest day in the party's presidential nominating process. However, then one of Trump's co-defendants earlier asked for his trial date to be moved up to October 23rd. He has the right to request a speedy trial. So that was granted by the judge. The district attorney had initially wanted to charge Trump and the co-defendants at the same time. So we'll see how that plays out. Another option that could happen here is some of those co-defendants are trying to have the case moved to a federal court. So if that were to happen, and if Trump's case were to be moved, then the timeline from the state court would essentially become moot. Former U.S. president has shown a remarkable resilience so far to taking any sort of damage so far in the Republican nominating process from all of these legal entanglements back in February before he was indicted for the first time. Trump was actually just leading Florida Governor Ron DeSantis in the Republican nomination poll by just a couple percentage points. Well, fast forward to the summer, where now Trump has been indicted 4 times on numerous felony charges, and Trump is actually leading the field by more than 40%. So these charges have clearly not hurt him in any meaningful way to try and achieve his party's nomination for the presidency. Now, certainly new details could come out as these legal cases proceed, but right now, at least the will of the Republican voters appears to be that they do support Trump despite all of these legal problems that he faces.
Russian President Vladimir Putin has sent his condolences to the family of Wagner chief Yevgeny Prigozhin, breaking his silence after the mercenary leader's plane crashed, leaving no survivors 2 months after he led a mutiny against the Russian government.
As for the aviation tragedy, first of all, I want to express my sincerest condolences to the families of all the victims. It is always a tragedy. Indeed, if there were, and the primary data indicate that there were employees of the Wagner PMC, I would want to note that these people made a significant contribution to our common cause of fighting the neo-Nazi regime in Ukraine. We will remember this, we know it, and we will not forget it.
More updates from Russia. Flight operations at 2 major airports in the Russian capital Moscow were suspended early on Friday after reports of explosions. It comes after residents of the Russian regions of Tula and Kaluga reported hearing explosions in the night. Earlier this week, flights were briefly disrupted following alleged Ukrainian drone attacks. Greek firefighters continue to battle a blaze spreading outside Athens. It is one of hundreds of wildfires currently ravaging the country, already killing at least 20 people. About 12 miles north of Athens, more than 200 firefighters alongside 65 vehicles, 2 planes and 5 helicopters battled a blaze over Mount Parinita. A wildfire that erupted on Tuesday has smothered the capital in smoke and ash, spreading to the town of Menidi, where about 150 people were evacuated from 3 nursing homes. The country's government has faced criticism for its response to the wildfires. More weather updates from Europe. In Italy, as a heat wave engulfed the Alpine glaciers, the Italian environmental organization Legambiente displayed the ongoing Rutor. With an area of around 7.5 kilometers, the 3rd largest glacier in Valle d'Aosta is increasingly threatened by the effects of climate change and has lost approximately 4 kilometers of surface area since 1865. Italy issued heat wave red alerts about emergency conditions. One of the world's busiest shipping lanes, the Panama Canal that links the Pacific and Atlantic Oceans, is expected to extend restrictions on daily ship transit. The restrictions have been imposed amid a prolonged drought, shrinking the canal's water level. The restrictions have caused a huge backlog of ships waiting to pass through. The restrictions have also forced ship owners to lighten cargo or shift to alternative routes. Now, this has caused freight costs to surge. Officials say the extension of the restrictions will give the canal room to conserve water ahead of the next rainy season, but the move is believed to cause major logjams. A quick look at other stories making news from around the world. Officials in Costa Rica have seized a boat carrying 2.2 tons of cocaine. The vessel has been intercepted at sea at 200 kilometers from the Costa Rican coast. The country's police have arrested 3 people with drugs, including 2 Ecuadorians and 1 Colombian. Venezuela's National Assembly has named ruling Socialist Party loyalist Elvis Amoroso as the head of country's highest electoral authority. Amoroso previously served as Comptroller General of Venezuela and oversaw the use of public funds. Amoroso's nomination comes as the US has said that it is ready to ease sanctions against Venezuela, but only if President Nicolas Maduro takes concrete steps towards free elections. Mass protests on the streets of Argentinian capital Buenos Aires, with thousands of people demanding government support amid a deepening economic crisis ahead of the October general election. Demonstrators were seen waving flags and banners calling for more resources for social welfare programs. The recent sharp devaluation of the Argentine currency has increased inflation, causing anger and frustration in the South American nation. Firefighting operations are in full swing in British Columbia as Canada's severe wildfire season continues. Already more than 50,000 people have been forced to evacuate their homes as emergency teams try and stop the spread of flames by digging trenches and water bombing. And still to come on DD India News Hour, Delhi is gearing up for hosting the G20 summit. Preparations are in full swing with the city being decorated to welcome the world leaders. The US has announced it will start training Ukrainian pilots to fly F-16s next month. An Indian badminton duo progresses to the quarter-final round at the World Championships.
बिना रुकावट गाने सुनने के लिए अपना सब्सक्रिप्शन रिन्यू करें।
सब्सक्रिप्शन खत्म? मिस्टर डीजे, यूपीआई ऑटो पे कीजिए।
ऑटो पे?
नॉन स्टॉप पेमेंट से मिलेगा
नॉन स्टॉप म्यूजिक।
चलेगा चलेगा नॉन स्टॉप चलेगा।
अब नॉन स्टॉप पेमेंट्स ऑटोमेटिकली करने के लिए यूपीआई ऑटो पे चलेगा।
You're watching DD India News Hour and I'm Preeti. India's Minister for Housing and Urban Affairs, Hardeep Singh Puri, says that private sector businesses play a crucial role in meeting the Sustainable Development Goals of the United Nations. He was speaking at the inauguration of a B20 meeting in Delhi, the host city for the G20 summit next month.
To an OECD report, in developing countries where the SDG deficit is the largest, private sector operations constitute on an average 60% of GDP, while generating 90% of jobs and 80% of capital flows. At the same time, more than 90% of the SDG goals are tied to the fulfillment of basic rights, etc. It is quite clear that a business-focused approach to SDGs can and does pay rich dividends.
And Delhi is gearing up to host the G20 summit with preparations in full swing as the city is being decorated to welcome the world leaders, while security is also being significantly tightened. DD India correspondent Dibyendu Mondal joins us for more on this. Dibyendu, good morning. Let us know what preparations are being put in place. Not many days left for the national capital to host the G20 summit. Let us get more sense of what preparations and what special arrangements are being made in the national capital.
Yes, good morning, Preeti. We are outside the Pragati Maidan Bharat Mandapam, where the final summit of G20 will be held just a couple of days from now. You know, the Delhi is completely being decorated right from the airport, where the delegates will arrive to the various hotels where the delegates from various countries, over 20 countries, will be staying. Security is being looked at very crucially. Let me also tell our viewers that today the Delhi police will be briefing the media at around 12 in the afternoon with regards to the security arrangements. There have been several security drills that have been carried out in Delhi. Delhi has been completely revamped, decorated for the G20 celebrations, which will be happening over the next 2 days on the 9th and 10th. And the Delhi government has also issued an advisory, in fact a notification yesterday, saying that the entire New Delhi police district will be shut down, and all schools, colleges, banks have been advised to remain shut due to security reasons, and also due to restrictions in movements, as a plethora of leaders from across the globe will be visiting New Delhi. And of course, several decorations in terms of paintings, in terms of showing the Indian art, culture, the ethnic value of India has been put up across the national capital right when you arrive at the Delhi airport. And to this place in Pragati Maidan, this entire place has been decorated and renovated and given a makeover with world-class facilities for welcoming the world leaders to India.
All right, Dibyendu, is it a little too early to, inquire about any changes in routes that would be made, or for that matter, would there be any changes in the public transport? Because, Delhiites are very much dependent on the metro services. Would there be any changes in that? And also, do we expect any sort of changes, being made to the routes? And also, a quick hint on what security arrangements, or how will the security be beefed up in the national capital during those 2 days?
That's right, Preeti. Delhi will, as I said, New Delhi district will be completely cordoned off. No public, no general and common public will be allowed inside the New Delhi police district. Shops, schools, colleges, banks have been asked to remain shut. As far as public transport is concerned, the Delhi metro will function normally as we hear. As of now, the decision has not been taken to shut the Delhi metro. For the DTC buses, we are yet to hear from the Delhi government anything on that. But of course, what we have understood from the notification issued by the Delhi government yesterday, that even public transport in the New Delhi police district will be restricted, and no movement of any vehicular movement will be allowed inside the New Delhi district. As you also know, all the hotels where the delegates will be staying are all inside the New Delhi district. So a large contingent of delegates, providing them security, will of course be a major challenge. The Delhi police has been working and training their staff over the last couple of months. What I hear from my sources in the Delhi police is that they have trained over thousands of their personals in tackling terrorism, in tackling any kind of mob violence, or to securing and fortifying the area. Many women officers of the Delhi police have also been given training on combat. The Delhi bomb disposal squads will be there across the national capital. Security will also be manned through drones, and there'll be snipers placed on high-rise buildings across the New Delhi district. So security is one of the most important feature. In fact, most important aspect that is being taken into aspect by the Delhi police and the security establishment in Delhi.
All right, Dibyendu, thank you for joining in with those inputs. That was our correspondent, Dibyendu Mondal, joining us and telling us more of the preparations that are being made in the national capital as it gears up for the G20 summit next month. From here, we now turn focus to Europe, where in fact Ukraine has marked its 32nd Independence Day, with other nations recognizing the event. In Paris, the Eiffel Tower was lit up in the colors of Ukraine's national flag. Ukraine declared its independence from the Soviet Union back in 1991. The U.S. State Department has imposed sanctions on 13 people and entities on Thursday. The United States said that the sanctioned entities were reportedly connected to the forced deportation and transfer of Ukraine's children. The State Department further said that U.S. is also taking steps to impose visa restrictions on 3 Russia-installed purported authorities over their involvement in human rights abuses of Ukrainian minors. Ukraine's government estimates that the Russian authorities have deported over 19,500 children since the beginning of Russia-Ukraine war. The United States top general Mark Milley says that Ukraine was likely to get F-16 fighter jets soon. He added its counteroffensive against the Russian invasion has been slowly going and in fact has seen partial success. He also says that Ukrainian forces are being trained intensively in various parts of Europe. Earlier, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said that he had received pledges from Denmark and the Netherlands to deliver F-16s.
The F-16s, that is moving forward, actually. So there's a training program in place, and they'll likely to receive F-16s here in the not too distant future. The Ukrainians have a significant amount of combat power remaining. This is not over yet. So I think it's frankly too early to say whether it succeeded or failed. It clearly has had partial success to date. Now, the speed at which the offensive is being undertaken is slower than the planners had thought.
Also, the United States will begin flight training for Ukrainian pilots on F-16 fighter jets in October. Pentagon spokesman Brigadier General Pat Ryder says the training will begin in Arizona after the pilots receive English language training next month. This summer has seen record-breaking temperatures across the globe. In some places in the U.S., the heat has lingered above 40 degrees Celsius for weeks on the end. And it's not just bad for the body. Research increasingly shows that rising temperatures are bad for the mind too, with societies most vulnerable at the highest risk. DD India's Tony Waterman has more from Austin, Texas.
It's been 4 years since Alvin Pimpkin has had a roof over his head. Right now, a mattress behind a grocery store is home.
The weather sure is hot out here.
And while living on the streets is never easy, excessively long heat spells this summer has made it unbearable, both emotionally and physically.
I have sores on my feet.
On the day we spoke, it was the 40th day in a row of temperatures over 38 degrees Celsius.
The heat does drain you in, like I think it does cause an effect on my attitude, and I have anger issues at times and then depression issues, and it does cause that to be more severe.
Research on the effects of long-term exposure to extreme heat is still in the early stages, but accumulating evidence shows it is linked to an increase in violence, aggression, psychiatric hospitalizations, even suicide.
And this sounds trivial, but it's not. Heat makes us cranky. You can't deal with your own emotions perhaps as calmly as you could if you were cooler. So you see more serious impacts on mental health for people who have had multiple experiences of, again, climate extremes.
This compounding effect can be exceptionally detrimental to the nearly 600,000 homeless people in the United States, more than half of them concentrated in states prone to extreme weather, and about a third of whom are already suffering from some form of mental illness.
They may or may not be getting treatment for that, but there is evidence that certainly some of the psychoactive drugs you might take to cope with mental illness actually have the effect of making you more vulnerable to heat.
For Alvin Pimpkin, the heat is now an inescapable enemy, one he believes will ultimately shorten his life.
If it's affecting you in the now, then chances are it's affecting you all the way around throughout your life in a negative way.
Scientists say the intensity, frequency, and longevity of this year's summer heat is just a snapshot of the future. And while more research is needed to understand the relationship between extreme heat and mental well-being, one thing is already abundantly clear. Climate change is impacting not just our environments, but our minds as well. Tony Waterman in Austin, Texas, reporting for DD India.
People there braving the challenge of climate change. And the US markets were all down sharply on Thursday despite a boost from chip maker Nvidia's earnings report. The focus now turns to upcoming comments from Fed Chair Jerome Powell. Ira Spitzer has more on this.
U.S. markets were unable to sustain the rally that peaked a day earlier during after-hours trading when Nvidia reported record revenue figures. However, the chipmaker's stock then drifted steadily downward on Thursday, along with most of the broader market. The Dow Jones Industrial Average fell 1.1%, the S&P was off 1.3%, and the Nasdaq slid 1.9%. Tech was the worst performing sector for the session, down over 2%, led by another chipmaker, AMD, which lost 7%. Investors will now be closely watching central bankers' comments at the Jackson Hole Economic Summit on Friday. In remarks this time a year ago, Fed Chairman Jerome Powell warned that interest rate hikes could mean pain for American households, sending stocks plummeting. Fed officials have left open the possibility of continuing to raise interest rates, although recent signs of cooling inflation have raised hopes on Wall Street that those hikes may wind down soon. Ira Spitzer reporting in San Francisco for DD India.
Thanos Parashos, Managing Director of Startup Greece organization. He is leading the Greek startup group that is going to meet Prime Minister Modi. Let's listen in.
Joined in by Thanos, who represents Greece Startups organization, and he will be meeting Prime Minister Narendra Modi on his arrival in Athens. We'll get to know more, but before that, excited to meet Prime Minister Narendra Modi? Thanos?
I'm absolutely excited.
How do you welcome
I'm very happy, of course, in his language, so Gujarati, because I believe that there is a Greek factor, so the Greek and Gujarati. So I believe that we have strong ties with Indian people.
How do you welcome him?
I'm here to welcome him, and we are very honored and proud that he's coming in our country after this remarkable success. So it's unique what we have seen from India the last 9 years. The progress, it's probably his leadership that has led to this remarkable event yesterday, and we are looking forward to see more on the space industry, and not only on that, on the technology, on the whole world, and especially for the future, for our common future, for the one future.
How do you see that India, in a sense, can help the Greece startup industry also to become more robust and probably create an ecosystem where the startups of both the countries can work, tech share together?
Can collaborate in order to connect the ecosystems. If we bring people together, then you can build very remarkable, and you could have success. And this is why I'm here, and why Greek startups are here to welcome Prime Minister Modi.
Yeah.
And it's unique and important for us to have leaders like Prime Minister Modi and to share with us their inspiration for the world, for our future.
Thank you so much, Thanush, for talking to us.
Pleasure.
So that's me, Meghna Dev, for DD India with camera person Shailendra Chauhan from Athens, Greece.
And Meghna is joining us live from Athens. Meghna, behind you, I see a lot of people have gathered there to welcome the Prime Minister, and I believe it's early morning there in Greece. The Prime Minister will be landing shortly in Athens. Let us get a sense of the excitement there ahead of the Prime Minister's visit. How are people gearing up to welcome their leader there in Greece?
Yes, absolutely. You know, quite a substantial number of people have gathered right outside the place where Prime Minister Narendra Modi is about to arrive. Once he arrives in Athens, he will be arriving at this hotel, which is near center, which is just near the Hellenic Parliament. And that is where the community people, the people from the Indian diaspora have arrived. You can see tricolors and placards right behind me, and people obviously started to gather very early in the morning, 5 a.m. in the morning. It's around 6:30 here in Athens, and people had started gathering very early in the morning. Obviously, this is the usual scene, the usual visual that we get everywhere, wherever Prime Minister Narendra Modi travels globally. Besides that, very importantly, Preeti, there is a very far-packed schedule ahead of Prime Minister Narendra Modi's visit here in Athens. The schedule for the day definitely includes the bilateral engagement that he will be having with the Greek Prime Minister. Besides that, there is also an interaction with business leaders and the business community. Definitely a focus on expanding bilateral cooperation and bilateral trade. Diversifying that is also extremely crucial. We also know that there is an attempt or there is an emphasis on deepening the security and defense cooperation that both the countries have. And besides that, there are also going to be areas of discussion in terms of how India sees Greece as an important, country to reach out to the European markets. So that is a very essential thing that can be discussed. We also know that there is an emphasis from the Greek side also, so that more Indian students come to study in Greece. So, these are the important factors that can be on the table when the two leaders will meet. The bilateral meeting that will take place. There are also we can be expecting a press briefing after the bilateral meeting takes place. Also, just before Prime Minister Narendra Modi leaves from Athens, he will, before that, he will address the Indian community. He will interact with the Indian community. So definitely a far-packed day, a day which, is clearly very, very tight, where Prime Minister Narendra Modi has a very tight schedule. But definitely, I'll just make a move to show you that the people from the Indian diaspora are already here, and they are here present in quite a substantial number to welcome Prime Minister Narendra Modi. So definitely, all set for Prime Minister Narendra Modi's arrival here in Athens, and all set for his engagements. So that will, and we will take you live through all the engagements that Prime Minister Narendra Modi has throughout the day.
All right, so the Indian diaspora there is set to welcome Prime Minister Narendra Modi. Meghna, the very fact that so many people have gathered there right from 5 in the morning to welcome Prime Minister shows the excitement and enthusiasm. You tell us that there are close to 15,000 members of Indian diaspora settled there in Greece. Get us a sense of how significant is their contribution in Greece's economy.
We have also been that are quite popular here in Athens, and we also did see that people.
All right, I think there has been a disruption in Meghna's audio there. We'll try getting back to her to get more as we await the Prime Minister's arrival in Athens in Greece, and he will be arriving there shortly. And we also saw members of Indian diaspora there eagerly awaiting the Prime Minister's arrival to the hotel where he will be staying. And also, as we told you, just in a short while from now, the Prime Minister will be arriving in Greece. He will be landing there, and we will be keeping you posted on that. Meanwhile, let's turn focus to other updates which we are following. The Indian Space Research Organization, or the ISRO, has released a new video of the moon's surface. It shows the lunar surface captured by Chandrayaan-3's Vikram lander during its descent on Wednesday. It comes as the ISRO says that all activities related to Chandrayaan-3 mission are on schedule and all the systems are functioning normally. And from here, we now turn focus to sports on DD India News Hour. An Indian badminton duo has progressed to the quarterfinal, in fact, at the World Championships. Satvik Sairaj Rankireddy and Chirag Shetty beat Leo Rolly and Daniel Martin 15-21, 21-19, 9-21 to set up a next round clash with Denmark's Kim Astrup and Anders Karup. In men's singles, HS Pranoy is set to face Olympic champion Victor Axelsen in the quarters. And throwing the first punch in a battle for the future of boxing, a tech startup is hoping to revolutionize the combat sports. Data gathered on performance analysis has the ability to potentially change the game for refereeing. Also, this is being done by using AI to automate the system.
Could artificial intelligence revolutionize combat sports?
I think it's going to be absolutely transformative for the clubs.
One startup wants to throw the first punch in the battle for the future of boxing with an advanced computer vision AI system it called Deep Strike. The startup Jabber says the Deep Strike system is able to measure 50 different parameters in real time. And according to CEO Alan Swystrup, this is what it can do with a video feed of a boxing match.
What it's going to give you is an automated count of strikes thrown, what's landed, the impact quality of the shots. But it's also going to do a lot of other cool things like generate automated highlights for you.
Deep Strike was recently tested in a London boxing club for the first time with several amateurs. It appeared to be able to not only display a full suite of stats, but also showed highlight reels between rounds and changed camera angles to follow the action.
And what's really, really cool is you can give it like, say, 2 or 3 cameras, static cameras and tripods. It can convert that into something that looks like a professional TV production, all automated.
Swystrup claims Deep Strike will allow all boxing clubs to give their fighters the kind of performance analyses that are limited to a small group of people right now. And the ability to professionally stream live matches means smaller clubs could expand their revenue streams. Manja Klempner, the founder of the Boxing House, called the boxing industry fairly staid and is excited for the change in landscape.
I think it's very cool. I think it's great. It's going to give CompuBox, which is the current way we collect stats of professional boxing matches, a run for its money. I think it's high time we do that sort of thing.
Performance aside, could the AI play referee? Jabbers say they are asked repeatedly whether this AI could replace a referee, something they say is highly political, but claim that in a non-live test, it could do the job.
It's not going to jump into the ring with you and be like, oh, break or whatever. But as a judge, in theory, yes, you could use it as a judge.
Swystrup says when tested with video of recorded matches, Deep Strike did a pretty good job at determining the winner of a fight.
For 10 out of the 12 fights, it picked the same winner as the judges. And then for 2 of the fights, it picked a different one. But that was also fights that the crowd booed the judges. So maybe it was onto something.
And for an industry dogged with suspicions of corruption, the technology may be a way to keep the record clean and avoid bias. Deep Strike isn't available to the public yet, but Jabbers say they're aiming to roll out a beta version that will be later this year.
And members of the Indian community, as we told you in Greece, are getting ready to welcome Prime Minister Narendra Modi in their own special ways. Some of them will present a traditional cultural performance to welcome him in Athens. DD India correspondent Meghna Dev caught up with one such group.
So definitely a lot of enthusiasm on Prime Minister Narendra Modi's arrival in Athens, here in Greece, and we are here at the dance studio, which is preparing continuously for Prime Minister Narendra Modi's arrival, because they are going to welcome them with traditional dance and devotional songs on Lord Ganesha, as well as patriotic songs. Definitely Lord Ganesha, who is the god who is worshipped before anything auspicious takes place. So definitely these beautiful girls practicing Bollywood dance to welcome Prime Minister Narendra Modi here in Athens. And surprisingly, all of these beautiful women are Greeks. So there are local people here who understand Bollywood music and dance. So definitely taking you closer to Indian culture, dance, music, and a cultural extravaganza. So we are joined by 2 people who are choreographers here, and they will tell us more about how this dance studio on Bollywood came to inception. Anna, please tell us more.
So it all started while I was studying in the drama school, where they gave me a big role to act as an Indian girl, and I knew nothing back then. But then I watched Madhuri Dixit dancing on Mare Dala, and then I fell in love with Bollywood, and I thought I have to bring it in Greece.
Yeah. Siobhan, you are the only Indian, I guess, in the group. So is it difficult to teach Bollywood dance and music to these girls?
Well, to be honest, this is like the most surprising thing. When I arrived first here, I thought that it will be a very hard time for them to connect with the vibe and the overall energy, and most importantly, the cultural aspect of Bollywood. But I was really surprised to see how well they adopted it. And first of all, the credit goes to Anna, who set up the first Bollywood Dance Academy in Greece, as it is called, for over a decade now. And most importantly, like as you just mentioned, that we are talking about Lord Ganesha and everything, and they also show and express their love about Lord Ganesha, and there is no friction that it is from a different culture or it is from a different religion, and that is the beauty of Indian culture and dance, that it includes and it embraces everyone.
So before I come to the excitement that the people here have, and especially the youngsters here have on Prime Minister Narendra Modi's arrival, which is going to happen shortly.
I follow almost everyone. Like, I'm a big fan of Madhuri Dixit, Shah Rukh Khan, okay, of course, obviously, and I'm really enthusiastic about Bollywood. And we learn many things. We have also Bharatanatyam lessons in the school, so yeah.
You learn Bharatanatyam in school?
Yeah.
How do you like the music, the outfits, and the expressions that come through?
I love all of these. My favorite is the costumes. They come straight from India, and I love expressing myself through dance.
Yeah.
Yes.
Why do you choose Bollywood dance?
Because it's a dance of happiness, and it makes me feel myself in all of its forms.
Indian culture and Indian dance form. So I think that is the USP, that is the most surprising aspect of this whole welcome for him, that they will be taken aback to see how well they have trained, they love and they share the joy of Indian dance.
So definitely Indian dance, music, Bollywood, and a beautiful welcome in store for Prime Minister Narendra Modi, a cultural extravaganza to be precise for Prime Minister Narendra Modi's arrival here in Athens. With camera person Shailendra Chauhan, this is Meghna Dey for DD India from Athens, Greece.
All right, Meghna is joining us again. Meghna, just a while back we were talking with you about the contribution of the Indian diaspora there in Greece. You tell us that 15,000, close to 15,000 is the number of the members of Indian diaspora there in Greece. Let us understand more from you. How significant has been the contribution of Indian diaspora in the economy of Greece there?
We have seen, the most of the people who are, in Greece of the Indian diaspora are into agriculture, are into the construction, or a few of them I met are into the restaurant business. Some of them are into the apparel business. So definitely quite a substantial amount of people who are here, are working, and also to be precise, the government of Greece is also trying to get in more Indian students to study in Greek universities. Besides that, also there are many important, renowned personalities who are Indologists, who are aware about Indian culture, who know Sanskrit. So there are a few people of that, that kind as well. We also did see just, before, we connected live, we saw that how Bollywood dance and music is also getting so popular in Greece, and how people are loving Bollywood dance music and the Indian culture. Right behind me, we see the diaspora, which has lined up to actually welcome Prime Minister Narendra Modi. I will talk to a few of them and probably get to know the excitement that is there in people. क्या कहेंगे प्रधानमंत्री नरेंद्र मोदी आ रहे हैं?
नरेंद्र मोदी आ रहे हैं जहाँ नरेंद्र मोदी जी के स्वागत के लिए आए हैं शिव मंदिर की तरफ। हाँ जी हम भी स्वागत के लिए वेलकम करने के लिए बहुत जगह पे खड़े कह रहे हैं जल्दी से जल्दी आए नरेंद्र मोदी जी, हमें बहुत खुशी है।
So basically, we see clearly that the excitement is palpable. People have been standing since a couple of hours early in the morning to welcome Prime Minister Narendra Modi here. Also, definitely Prime Minister Narendra Modi is going to interact with the diaspora. So there is an event planned in the evening where Prime Minister Narendra Modi will be addressing the diaspora. And definitely that is one event that the Indian diaspora here is waiting for. Besides that, Preeti, there are going to be important topics on the table when the delegation level talks will take place. Definitely expansion of, diversifying trade and investment, deepening the cooperation in the defense and security sector. And besides that, there are some more areas of cooperation in terms of renewable energy, the shipping industry, and how the ports can be utilized so that there can be more access to the European markets. So, connectivity is one of the important, things on the table, migration and mobility. So all these factors definitely would be, important things on the table. But before that, Prime Minister Narendra Modi will also be meeting, along with the Prime Minister of Greece, the business leaders and the business community here. So definitely there is clear emphasis on, bringing more trade and investment. We see that, if we see the statistics of 2022 and 23, we see that the bilateral trade somewhere stands around $2,000 million US. So, this is quite less than the potential that can be achieved between India and Greece. So boosting that. Besides that, the renewable sector is also something to look out for, because Greece has been, we also know that Greece is a member of the International Solar Alliance, and and it also has quite a substantial number of sunny days. So definitely, there is a lot more potential in terms of renewable energy that can be harnessed. And India is also steadfasting in the renewable sector. So definitely these will be some points of discussion between the two leaders and the delegation level talks that will take place. Also, Prime Minister Narendra Modi will be laying a wreath, at the tomb of the unknown soldier, which is just a few meters from where I am standing. I'm standing right outside where Prime Minister Narendra Modi will be arriving in a short while from now, and where the diaspora is eagerly waiting for his arrival.
All right, Meghna, now we also see that this is for the first time the Indian Prime Minister is visiting Greece, and that comes in 40 years. 4 decades is a long time. And also when we talk of the timing, and also how you've talked of different aspects of the relationship which can be strengthened when the Prime Minister meets with the Prime Minister of Greece. Let's understand more from you on the timing of this visit.
This is a very important, significant time that this visit is taking place to Greece. First, we obviously know India's G20 presidency. The summit is just a few days from now, and we will have the G20 summit held in India, in New Delhi, in just a few days. So definitely it is a very important time. We did also speak to the Greek ambassador to India, and he said that how India is, marching ahead in terms of technology, in terms of different sectors, and definitely Greece would like to collaborate with India in different sectors. We also definitely see that when we are talking about the ports, we are talking about, Greece is at one of the strategic locations in the Mediterranean Sea. Definitely there is a lot of potential. There is a lot of things in terms of the ports that can be explored so that India is able to access the European markets. Besides that, we also do see that there can be talks on agriculture. There can be talks on other sectors of cooperation. But as you said, it is a very significant time. This visit of Prime Minister Narendra Modi will infuse new energy in the bilateral relations between India and Greece. And this is going to be essential. And also what we hear from people here around, that they are surprised by the fact that a prime ministerial visit is happening after 4 decades. So definitely this is an important, significant visit, keeping in mind the importance that India attaches to, reaching out to its European partners, the importance that India attaches to its relationship with Greece. And also when we are talking about India, we're talking about renewables now, we're talking about green energy, we're talking about green hydrogen, we're talking about electric vehicles. So we are talking about a lot of things in which India can collaborate with Greece. We are also, we just had an interaction yesterday with one of the representatives of Startup Greece, and he did say that how India has managed to build a robust startup ecosystem, and that is what Greece would like to cooperate in that sector with India in terms of getting that startup ecosystem, the incubation centers, and how the startups. There are over 100 unicorns there in India and thousands of startups. So definitely that could make a difference when one of the countries which is steadfasting in the sector of startups can collaborate with Greece, and probably there can be a lot more options that can be explored in terms of tech sharing, in terms of tech disruption, and more. So definitely these are important aspects that are going to be, or just as I said, that this visit will infuse new energy into the relationship between India and Greece, and that is what the schedule of Prime Minister Narendra Modi looks like today.
Yes, indeed, Meghna. And also we've seen how India has been, dealing with the other members of the European Union. And also I'll pick up this article by Prime Minister of Greece, Mitsotakis, wherein he talks of how standing at the crossroads for the three continents and also as an EU and NATO member, Greece is perfectly placed to be India's gateway to Europe. So indeed, this is a very significant statement put forth by the Prime Minister of Greece, telling us how this renewal of the relationship between the two countries can indeed be very significant, not just for Greece, but also for India, where Greece is being envisaged as the gateway to Europe.
Absolutely, yes. We see when we're talking about the Mediterranean, we are talking about where Greece is placed. It is so strategically placed that it has Europe, Asia, and Africa, the continents there in the Mediterranean Sea. Definitely, the ports and also the containers that come here. There is a lot of potential that, that the European markets can be accessed. There are ports which can be very useful, which can be very essential for India to access the European markets. So definitely what we also spoke to the ambassador yesterday, and he was clearly also reiterating what the Greek Prime Minister said, that it is Greece is so strategically placed that it will give access to the European markets. It has good access to ports. It is one of the important ports in Europe and one of the largest in terms of container handling, if I'm not wrong. So definitely, these are some important things that India would like to explore, and that is one of the important reasons that both the prime ministers are having an interaction with the business leaders and the business community at a luncheon today when they will be meeting in Athens.
All right, Meghna, also when we talk of the bilateral meeting between the leaders of the two countries, Prime Minister Mitsotakis and also Prime Minister Narendra Modi, we tell our viewers that maritime transport, defense, trade and investments would be the key areas where the focus would be. Spell out more details on this. How can these areas further strengthen the relationship?
So when we actually see that India definitely wants to leverage on the strength that Greece has, and obviously there has been India and Greece have been on the same page on a number of issues, be it issues pertaining to terrorism, be it issues pertaining to Greece supporting India at the UNSC to be a permanent member at the horseshoe table, or be it in other terms at the UN, or when the Panama attack happened, or when 26/11 happened, Greece was the country to condemn the attacks in the strongest terms. But having said that, these are the times when India is trying to expand its global outreach in terms of trade and investment. And as I said, the bilateral trade stands at somewhere around $2,000 million US. So that is that is quite below potential that both the countries have. And definitely, while Greece being a maritime country, the ports can be utilized for reaching to the European markets. Besides that, also, we have been seeing that the Piraeus port is one of the important ports that can be used as a gateway for, as a gateway to Europe for India's trade. So I have been actually reading out on a number of things in terms of how and talking to people on how the ports can help India to reach the European markets, and definitely that is something that is one of the clear subjects or agendas that will be put on the table and can be discussed. Connectivity is also one of the major aspects that can be discussed between both the countries, and not only connectivity, but connectivity also in terms of more flights or direct flights to Greece, or something for that matter can also be discussed.
All right, Meghna, now we are talking of the scope of the relationship, which can be further strengthened. Also, we've seen how the Prime Minister of Greece has talked of the relationship already, the two countries already sharing demographic relationship. In fact, close people-to-people ties as well. But I think we've lost contact there with Meghna. We'll try getting back to her again. She is placed outside the hotel where the Prime Minister will be staying during his day-long visit to Greece. And as we speak, we tell you that the Prime Minister will be arriving shortly. He will be landing in Greece, and just a while back, Meghna was enlisting the priority areas of the relationship between the two countries, in which there is scope of further strengthening it to the next level, and also how we've seen that this visit of the Prime Minister comes after 40 years. 4 decades indeed is a long time, and the Prime Minister is visiting. This will be, in fact, the visit by an Indian Prime Minister in 40 years. And the Prime Minister will be arriving in Greece in a short while from now. Our correspondent also sent us reports from Greece telling us about the preparations that have been put in place. She also, in fact, put forth the cultural program which will be held to welcome the Prime Minister. And also today, it being early in the morning there in Greece, the Indian diaspora, the members of the Indian diaspora have gathered there since 5 in the morning to welcome the Prime Minister. And that, in fact, is evident of the excitement and the enthusiasm ahead of Prime Minister's visit to Greece. We'll keep you posted. Meanwhile, let's turn focus to other updates which we are tracking this hour. The UAE's Bank of Baroda is commemorating its Golden Jubilee, marking 50 years in the United Arab Emirates. Established in 1974, the bank has emerged as a premier provider of financial solutions to both the Indian diaspora and locals. India's ambassador to the UAE, Sanjay Sudhir, says the bank has played an instrumental role in the past 9 years, elevating the India-UAE relationship, while the introduction of the rupee-dirham trade has further cemented economic ties between the two nations.
Groundwork has all been done on linking UPI, and once that happens, it will be a big thing. In fact, the German Minister for Digital Technology was in India, and he made a UPI transaction buying vegetables. We already have this UPI understanding with France. Now, the point is that UPI, the so-called digital, the fintech digital stack is a stack where India has taken a global lead. So the Western world has as much interest as any one of us.
Kuwait hosted the first Indian ministerial delegation in 2 years, cementing the relations between the two countries. Indian Minister of State for External Affairs, V. Muralidharan, paid an official visit to the state of Kuwait on 23rd and 24th of August. During the visit, the minister met key ministers and held bilateral talks and explored avenues for collaboration across various sectors. A focal point of the discussions was the determination on both sides to enhance the economic partnership. Both delegations expressed keen interest in diversifying bilateral trade and fostering increased bilateral investments. And going back to our top story, Prime Minister Modi's visit to Greece, and in fact he has reached Greece. And in an exclusive interview to DD India, Greek ambassador to India, Dimitrios Iannou, highlighted the significance of the Indian Prime Minister's visit to Greece.
Here outside the Greek Parliament, or also known as the Hellenic Parliament, and right outside the tomb of the unknown soldier, where Prime Minister Narendra Modi will lay a wreath and pay tributes to the soldiers who have fallen on the line of their duty. With me is Ambassador Iano, who will be speaking to us on the significance of the visit. He is the Greek ambassador to India. Thank you so much, Ambassador, for talking to us. As we know, a prime ministerial visit from India is happening after 4 decades.
Yes, this is a very happy moment. This is a long friendship going back millennia. But I would say that now is entering in an even higher stage. We are very happy to welcome Prime Minister Modi here in Greece. I think that our countries have many things in common, but there is one very important point. That is the ethical values that we both of us, both societies and both people, they follow. That is, we are democratic, representative societies. We value very highly humanitarian values, and we strive on international field for stability, peace, and respect of international law.
So we have also been seeing that we also know that there is going to be delegation level talks between both the prime ministers. What important subjects are going to be there on the agenda?
There is a series of agreements that they will be sound, that they cover all of the important fields. That is security, that is economy, that is culture, and technological exchanges and cooperation as well. And by the way, let me congratulate you and tell you that we are very proud of you for your amazing achievement to land a landscape on the dark side of the moon.
So we also know that there is a lot of talk about cooperation in the security and defense sector. Yes. Anything that you would like to, say about it?
There have been these combined exercises of Greek and Indian Air Force in the Neokos exercise. That was a very important event because I think it was the very first time that Indian Air Force has come to Europe to exercise along with a European country. There has also been the joint exercises of our navies in the Aegean Sea. And I think there is a lot more to come.
Both the prime ministers are meeting business leaders. So definitely there is emphasis on diversifying, expanding trade and investments. How do you look at, because we see Greece as an important gateway to the European markets?
Yes. This is the role that we aspire to play in our cooperation with India to become a gateway in many ways that can be done. In the first place, by using our ports in order to import your products in Europe, but this can be done in other ways as well. I mean, by Indian investments in important sectors, and especially of sectors of technological edge, because nowadays India is very advanced on a technological level.
Sir, also we see that the cooperation between Greece and India has also been extended in the education sector now. We see that there is a lot of emphasis from Greek universities so that Indian students come and study there. What will that also be on the agenda, and what is the plan, to get more students from India to study in Greece?
Yes, of course. This is one of the fields that we are very active, and we aspire to have good results in the coming years. There is an institution under the name Study in Greece, and by this is in cooperation, the embassy in cooperation with this institution is trying to make aware all the Indian universities that there are a lot of possibilities of cooperation, and also there are possibilities for Indian students to come and study in Greece. At the same time, we are trying to bring more Greek students also in India.
Sir, connectivity is one of the major challenges that we probably need to strengthen that sector. Talks on that expected between the leaders when there will be delegation level talks?
Yes, of course. Both countries will consider very important the green transition, let's say, so the renewable technologies, and given that India and Greece as well, they have made some progress recently in what regards green technology. I think that there will be a lot to discuss and to agree on that. Greece especially has an enormous potential in renewable energy because it's a country where there is sunshine about 300 days per year. And also there are very strong winds, as you have noticed probably during your stay here. So there is an enormous potential, and we will work on that.
One last question, Ambassador. The shipbuilding industry is also of a lot of importance. How do we see, the industry probably can collaborate in terms of transfer of how they are working, the procedure or the technology?
Yes, of course. The shipbuilding industry now is in a new stage in Greece. We are trying to renovate the shipbuilding industry, and I think there is a lot of potential in cooperation, collaboration with Indian shipyards and transfer of technology in both ways.
Yeah. Sir, I missed out on a question. We see that Greece and India are on the same page in terms of counter-terrorism, in terms of combating cross-border terrorism. How do you look at India's stance in terms of Cyprus, or be it the Greek stand that Kashmir is one of the internal issues of India?
As regards Cyprus, we very much appreciate the principal stance for all these years of India regarding the Cyprus issue, and especially its stance in the United Nations, and because it was always assisting all the preparation, let's say, for the resolutions that they were taken by the United Nations. As regards Cyprus, you know that there is nowadays, it is ongoing an arbitrary effort to change the situation in the buffer zone, which is illegal and goes against international norms and law. And all the Security Council and the United Nations, along with India, they have condemned these efforts.
India is holding the G20 presidency, and the summit is just around the corner. It's some time from now. How do you see India's role in terms of the presidency that it held for the G20 this year?
G20, I have said many times that it was a very, let's say, a very visionary presidency that it put the foundations for really change on many fields. And what I have to say is that I hope that the coming presidencies, they will build on this precedent of the Indian presidency, will go further away, and they will offer something very usual.
Thank you so much, Ambassador, for talking to us. It was a pleasure to talk to you. So this is Meghna Dev, 4DD India, with camera person Shailendra Chauhan from Athens, Greece.
And as we told you, we're going back to our top story again. Prime Minister Narendra Modi of India has arrived in Athens in Greece, and it is a first visit by an Indian Prime Minister to Greece in 40 years. India and Greece have enjoyed close ties through cooperation in areas such as maritime transport, defence, trade and investment. A detailed report from our correspondent Meghna Dev, who's reporting from Athens. Indian Prime Minister will have a packed schedule where he will hold delegation-level talks with Prime Minister of Greece.
During the Honourable Prime Minister's visit to Greece, both sides will look to expand and diversify the trade and investment segment of cooperation, deepen and expand the defence and security partnership, infrastructure cooperation, shipbuilding industry, something which is a great strength of Greece and where the opportunities, extensive opportunities are there, energy, agriculture, education, and as I mentioned earlier, migration and mobility. The visit would give both sides an opportunity to discuss also the regional and global issues of mutual interest and help broaden and deepen our bilateral engagement.
Prime Minister Modi will also be interacting with the Indian diaspora in Greece. Both leaders would also address the key businesses of both the countries.
It is after 4 decades that a prime ministerial visit from India is taking place to Greece. Greece is one of India's important European partners, a member of the NATO, as well as a gateway to the European market. During Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi's visit to Greece, there will be a lot of subjects on the table, be it expanding and diversifying trade and investments, deepening the security and defense cooperation between both the countries, as well as the shipbuilding infrastructure development and connectivity.
Both the Prime Ministers met in New York in September 2019 on the sidelines of the UNGA. This visit is expected to give opportunity for India and Greece to broaden and deepen bilateral engagements. Meghna Dev's report, DD India. You're watching DD India News Hour. We're heading for a short break. Stay with us.
Your name, Ina Krishnamurthy. Yes. It sounds so much like an Indian name.
My grandfather fascinated with